Good afternoon, everybody out there in internet land. I am Rebecca, and we are filming on location in Boulder for Love Improv. And today our special guest is Kent. So tell them a little bit about yourself, Kent, what you do in the world.
Sure. My name is Kent Northcote. I am a practicing emergency physician, and I think the reason I'm here is because I'm a sort of geek, but I'm a sort of general geek, and I like a lot of things, I like to learn, and one of the things I like to learn sort of much about is sort of the nature of our subjective experience. And that entails things like relationship, of course, you name it.
So today we're going to talk a little bit about subjective experience, like you were saying, and literally the nature, the physiology, the science pieces of it, and specifically imprinting and how that plays into coupling and into relationship. So let's get it started. My first question for you is, what is imprinting?
Okay. I think we've all seen the picture of Conrad Lorenz with I think goslings, like baby geese,
Sure.
following behind him. And so people wondered, what is it that brings about this imprinting? One thing we think that is a key part of it is the release of a hormone that I'm sure we've all heard of called oxytocin. Okay?
Sure.
And so the way we think this works is when your brain releases oxytocin, and it does it under various conditions such as like orgasm or the birth of a child, or even if you hug someone for long enough. About 30 seconds is what we think it takes for oxytocin to get released. Yeah. At that point, this chemical suffuses through your synapses, and what it actually does, it actually starts erasing information in those synapses.
Okay.
So it sort of wipes your slate clean, as it were.
Right.
And the information that the synapses now build back around is the information that you're getting from your current environment. So if it's a new partner, if it's a new child, or any sort of new situation.
So imprinting is this kind of chemical process in the brain of what we knew before sort of being erased so that all new information can be plugged in, essentially.
Sort of. It is supported by this chemical transition in the brain.
Okay.
Now if you want to say what it actually is, right, you have to include also the larger domain. You have to include what the organism is imprinting with, plus its current environmental context.
Right.
You could even argue that you have to include its evolutionary history to say what imprinting actually is.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a more difficult question to answer, but it's at least supported, right? It's not supported by dopamine, and there's a whole bunch of other things that go into it, but oxytocin is a key part of that.
Interesting. Okay, so imprinting happens, could we also use it with the word bonding? It creates like an initial sort of bonding to the thing that's being imprinted.
What do you mean by bonding?
So from a psych level, bonding is an attachment type thing, like a secure attachment, which essentially is, as children, we can go out and explore the world and turn around and have a secure base, which would be our parents, particularly speaking. And being able to go back and go in the world and come back creates a bonding experience. So I'm wondering how that compares with the imprinting experience. Is that a clear enough question?
Yeah, I think so. So you could argue, given that definition of bonding, that imprinting underpins bonding, at least some sorts of bonding.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
There's lots of ways to characterize bonding, but at least the bonding that one gets with one's parents, right, or that one achieves with one's child, is underpinned by this oxytocin process.
Right. And so, as we mature and go through the stages of development and reach adulthood and get out of adolescence, for all of you still in adolescence, it definitely is. I think there's somewhat of a switch that happens in the brain, and let me bring this whole question together because I'm going tangential right now. Is as adults, how does imprinting play into us hooking up and coupling?
Well, what do you mean? How does it inform a hooking up and coupling?
Well, if we're talking about early bonding, early childhood attachment, early imprinting that happens to us, and then fast forward into adulthood, like inside the body, what does it look the same? Does imprinting look the same in adulthood as it does maybe in earlier developmental years?
Okay. That's an open question as to whether or not it looks the same. One could argue that the process that underpins imprinting as a child onto a parent, that same sort of mechanism is probably going to be redeployed later on in life. Right? Evolution tends to be conservative and use the same thing over and over again. Right? And so in that sense, it probably looks the same. Right? But in a different sense, it also looks different because you're imprinting upon a different set of inputs. Right? The imprinting you have with your partner is substantially different than the imprinting that you have with your lover. Right? And the ramifications are also different, right? So it's a complex question to answer. It really depends what you mean by the same.
Well, I really think you did answer it in the sense that we join together differently with our primary caregivers than we do maybe a lover. And
presumably.
Hopefully.
But some don't, right? Some don't.
Right.
That kind of argues for this sort of plasticity of human sexuality. Right?
Right. So, imprinting, overall, my question is, do you think it is an important component of beginning a strongly bonded relationship? Like, you don't imprint, you're not really going to stick around. You do imprint, you're likely to stay in a relationship longer.
Okay, I think at the very least, the amount of imprinting that you do and the specific kind of imprinting that you do is going to inform the duration and the depth of your relationship.
Nice. So we'll kind of let it cliff hang right there, the duration and the depth of your relationship. And then you really brought something up at the end of this, the sexuality piece, the plasticity of sexuality. And we'll go into that in the next couple videos. So that was awesome. Thank you. Yeah, that was really good. Thank you all for stopping by. I am Rebecca. Keep it sexy. Bye.